I love it.
I've been hanging around Gerald Briscoe so long, I've lost the ability to read and count.
Well, what you haven't lost is the ability to tell a story. Man, I got incredible feedback about our Undertaker story, but as soon as the show dropped, you sent me a text and you said, one more Undertaker story.
Yep.
You had something about Vader and maybe something about Buried Alive. What's going on?
I can't believe I forgot this. So Leon White Vader loved me, and I love Leon. We both played football. He played on a much higher level. He was a first-round draft pick, played in the Super Bowl. Leon was a real stud, but Leon loved riding with me. It's like I was his younger brother or his son. So we're riding down in Florida, and the problem with Vader was the most lovey-dovey guy whenever he was under the influence of something. So, which is the last thing you want is a 450-pound lovey dude that's all over you in a car by yourself. So Vader has either taken something or drank a little too much, and I'm driving down in Florida, and Vader's all over me. He's like hugging me and telling me he loves me and all this stuff, and everything is like typical night with me and Vader. And so finally, I'm so sick of this. Finally, Vader says, I got to work with Undertaker at Royal Rumble. And I said, yeah. He goes, I think I'm going to have to put him over. I said, you think? He says, I got an idea. And he says, do you think that Taker, if I did a moonsault, Taker could catch me midair and hit me with the spike, the tombstone? And I looked at Leon and I said, Leon, that's the greatest idea I've ever heard. That's going to be the greatest spot in the history of wrestling. I said, of course he can do it. He says, you think he's big enough to catch me? I'm 450 pounds. I said, Leon, easy. He said, he's a big, strong sumbitch. I said, this is going to be the greatest spot ever. He goes, really? I said, yes. I said, Taker's going to love this forever. Everybody wanted Taker's approval. So Leon is now all excited about this spot. And I said, now here's what you do, Vader. Do not tell him about this. Just call this on the fly in the middle of the match. And so Leon goes, you think so? I go, yeah, he will be so. I said, Vince will go ballistic how great this is. He goes, oh my God. He goes, you're right. He goes, thanks, man. I appreciate you helping me. So the problem was Vader couldn't stand the fact that he had this huge thing in his back pocket and he couldn't tell Taker about it. So we're sitting there the next day. I don't know if we're in Tampa or somewhere. We're somewhere in Florida. I think we're driving in Tampa. And he's sitting there, and I'm sitting across the dressing room trying to kayfabe where Taker can't see that I'm watching. So Leon says he wants to talk to him. Taker comes and sits right by Vader. And Vader explains this entire thing about the big fly, and you can see the hand motion. He goes, catch me, boom. And people are going to go, banana. People go, banana. And Taker's sitting there, and he's looking straight ahead. Leon's right to his right, and he's not even looking at him. He's looking straight ahead. And when he gets done, Taker pats him on the leg, gets up and walks out of the room. Doesn't say a word. Doesn't say one word. So Leon looks over at me. He goes, what does that mean? I go, he fucking loved it. I said, dude, he loved it. You're in. I said, this is the greatest spot ever. It wasn't 5 minutes later. I'm walking down the hall and I see Taker. He goes, can I have a word with you? I said, why would you want a word with me? He said, have you been riding with Leon? I said, why would you ask that? He goes, you understand that would impale me in the middle of the ring. He said, it would kill me. I said, but what a spot it would be. I said, I really think you should try it. Yeah, he was like, I hate you. I said, thank you so much. Yeah.
I can totally just imagine him leaning over and just patting Vader on the leg.
It was the cool, he is Cool Hand Luke. And when he's sitting there just looking forward, and Leon's sitting right to his right, and he's sitting there. He has not looked at Leon the whole time. And I'm sitting there watching it, and Taker knows somebody's watching him. He doesn't know for sure who it is, but he knows people are watching because there's this so freaking preposterous. And he just pats him on the leg, walks out of the dressing room. Like, this is great. It wasn't 5 minutes. He goes, I need to have a word with you. I figured this was coming.
I love it. Hey, I don't know that you even know this, but of all the magic that Bruce has never revealed here on Something to Wrestle, it's Buried Alive. We can't get enough Buried Alive juice and stories here on the show, even though the magic was revealed on a cable TV show years ago, and it's circulated all over the internet amongst wrestling fans. But you were a part of that very first Buried Alive match, weren't you, John?
I sure was, and it was an absolute disaster. They had no idea how many people it would take to fill a grave. This was one of the dumbest things WWE did. Now, the finish itself was excellent. I believe they had something on a system to when Taker went in the grave. I believe he was the one that went in the grave and ended up moving him out So obviously he wasn't buried alive. But they thought at the time that it'd be great for some heels to come out, get a little bit of a rub, but also bury Taker as we're going off air, before he does, the hand up gimmick through the grave. I think that's when they did the hand up gimmick. So anyway, they had me, Crush, Gordy, Dustin Runnels, and a couple other guys, maybe Savio. I'm not sure who it was. We're in San Antonio. So we're supposed to go fill in this grave at the end of this match. You know how long it takes to fill in a grave? It would have taken us about 7 or 8 hours. No one had any idea. We go out there with shovels, and we're sitting there shoveling, and I can tell you the heat, people thought we were killing him. They really did. They didn't understand how he was going to live.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there watching the crowd because I'm thinking somebody's going to jump the rail. Really, there was a lot of heat that day. He and Foley, they really did a great job. But we're sitting there burying it, and finally Foley is just raking it in with his hands. We haven't put a foot of dirt on top of the grave. I mean, nothing. We weren't even close. So they finally just had to go off air with it. It was the shit. It was so bad. I look over at Crush, and he's yelling at the crowd, and the reason he is because he's so freaking blown up from shoveling. I mean,
Yes.
we are shoveling our asses off for however long it was. We're all blown up as we can be, and they're going, guys, you got to fill the grave. We couldn't have done it by Raw the next Monday. It was so bad. Horrible idea.
Not kidding, but do you think the inspiration from that was maybe Vince McMahon remembering the old cartoons where when somebody would get buried, the cartoon character could just cover them up right away?
Yes, I think that's what it was. Yeah, 100%. No one had any idea. Now, after that, they started using the forklift.
Yes.
They would bury it with the forklift because they realized that, you had probably, I don't know how many guys of us there were, maybe 5 or 6 guys, maybe. We didn't even get a foot of dirt in the grave. It wasn't even enough to film it. It was so bad.
And as a reminder, Foley always says that was when In Your House was 2 hours. So there were still matches to follow to give the live crowd, a full card. So they go off the air with the Undertaker's hand coming up through the grave, but we've just murdered a man. You've just witnessed a legit burial live on pay-per-view. And now here's the New Rockers with Al Snow and Marty Jannetty. Like, that live crowd had to be so confused. Like, wait, what?
Hey, one time, this is the greatest thing ever. One time, Al Snow is in a match in Cleveland, and poor Al, I love Al to death. We used to ride together. Al's a good friend of mine. I just went to OVW because I love Al so much, him and Doug Basham. And they had just announced that Stone Cold couldn't make it. Undertaker wasn't there. They were trying to get The Rock there by private plane, and they finally had to make the announcement that The Rock's not there. We're sold out in the arena. And the places, we just announced the 3 biggest stars maybe in the history of wrestling aren't going to be there. And the entire crowd is chanting between WWE sucks and we want a refund. And they put, and Al Snow was the next match. Like, Jack Lanza goes, Al, just go out there and go home. There's nothing you can do. I am so sorry that you're in this spot. And it was like, oh my God, the whole match they're chanting WWE sucks and we want a refund. They were so mad.
Oh God.
Poor Al.
Just go out there and go home.
Just go out there and go home. Jack had a friend one time in St. Louis. We're in Cape Girardeau, and he told me and Barry Windham, if you go more than 3 minutes, I'm firing both of you. And so we're the first match, and we hadn't even locked up yet. Jack walks out, and he's got the cigarette. He's walking down the aisle back when you could smoke in the rings, and he's waving his tie. And he's going, guys, I'm not kidding you. Go home. I got things to do. And so Barry goes, duck the lockup, hit me with the clothesline, kid. And that's what we did. And Jack ran the show in 1 hour and 14 minutes.
Duck the lockup.
Duck the lockup. 100%. Yeah, Wyndham called that. Wyndham called duck the lockup, hit me with a lariat, kid.
What a fucking line. Duck
Lanza was going to fire us if we went over 3 minutes.
Oh, my God.